We are live. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Hi, welcome. Make sure you drop me a message in there. Hey, here we go. We are live on Talks with Tanya. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening. Hey, yes. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get started because this is going to be a really good show. I got my girl, Minister Wanda, over here, and decided to kind of switch it up a little bit, and we're just going to go in and go ahead and get started. I want to welcome you all to Talks with Tanya. My name is Tanya Bain, and I am the host of your most liked, thank you so very much, digital news talk show. We talk about what's on your mind. We interview guests of excellence, and I get to share my view, and that's the great thing about social media. You can get to share your view. So if you don't agree with mine, you can go ahead somewhere else and share your view. Hey, but this is where you will find me and my friend Wanda. I am here on Sunday at 8 p.m. on Tanya Inspires. Also, we broadcast on the Impact to Income with Coach M page. Shout out to all of my Impact to Income sisters, and really appreciate Coach M and her support of me. For Coach M, it's going to be over a year. Over a year I've been doing this, Wanda.
Wow. Awesome. That's awesome.
It is.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. We've had some amazing guests, giving information and sharing that. And, you and I were just kind of chatting it up briefly, and we were talking about kind of what's going on in the world, and how it's, how it's impacting us, Yeah. So how are you feeling about that these days?
Well, for me initially, honestly, when the whole like pandemic thing started and initially, they said we had to stay in the house and, in quarantine and all of that. Initially, it didn't bother me at all because I'm a loner by nature. I'm a homebody. So I like being home and I like being by myself. So in the beginning, it was, oh, cool. Now nobody really can't come over here because they can't leave their house. Um, but then after a while, it was okay. But wait a minute, I can't do anything if I want to. Like at least before I had the option, I could go out and I could go wherever I wanted. And now I can't. But what I've learned and what I've heard, from other people, especially, families, husband and wives, that kind of thing, that there's been some more, revelations, if you will, right? And some really deep family discussions because you can't go nowhere. So now you have to talk to each other, you have to interact. Um, so I think for on some levels that was a good thing, because it really on some levels, the reason why wasn't so good, but it brought people together. I believe that some people, got a little bit closer because of this that maybe they weren't. And then on the flip side, is it related to just domestic violence victims? It was just a whole nother level. Yeah, it was just, a whole nother level of that, because now they were stuck and the abuser couldn't leave or come or go, which probably only escalated the frustration, and all of that. So the bottom line is that this whole thing just affected all areas. It affected all areas of life.
It really has. And, regardless of the particular topic, and today, our focus with Wanda is going to be about specifically domestic violence, but broadly, being able to take action, to
Mm-hmm.
look forward to the possibilities, as we're in the midst
Mm-hmm.
of those dysfunctions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those dysfunctions are happening. And what we're finding and what I'm finding is just from my, individual discussions and coaching that I do, it is at an escalated level.
Yeah.
And we are not connected with the tools that we need in
Yep.
order to successfully navigate through it. And I say this every week, and every time I look at it, okay, I keep it right here. It really is true that it is time. Nobody is coming to save us. Okay, nobody's coming to save us, and people really don't haven't experienced a clue of what I know very firmly in my spirit. This major shift that is happening, and even though it manifests itself as COVID, right,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
or domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
or depression,
Right.
all right, or being able to deal with losses, that whole thing that has been taken away from us, our freedom.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so although the triggers
Mm-hmm.
might be different,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
impact
Right.
is huge.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
So I believe that focusing on the possibilities,
Right.
which is like big vision, right?
Right. Because I don't think a lot of people were actually prepared for an impact.
No.
We weren't prepared for an impact. We were going to quarantine and we were going to wear masks and then we were going to, be free to move about the cabin. And that's not what happened.
We can't even
That's
get
not, that's not
together.
what happened. So by the time I think, most of us, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think by the time we just kind of realize like, oh, wait a minute, this is a thing. This is a thing.
Yeah.
We had to go back and kind of go, okay, well, wait a minute. I really do have to shift my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
This has to become my new normal. Like even now when I go out and I always have a mask with me. There's masks in the car, there's masks in all of my pocketbooks, there's masks in my coat pockets. But if I walk into a store and forget to put it on, like I feel naked. I feel that.
I know.
And I feel like everybody's going,
You don't have a
she
mask.
doesn't have her mask on. And they're not paying any attention to me, but that's what it feels like.
Right.
So I'm always like, oh my God, my mask. That's not normal. That wasn't my normal 6 months ago.
No.
I just got up and walked out the house and I just went about my business. And you can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
People are being very, as they should be, being very cautious. No, you can't come over. And no, you can't come over. And have you had a COVID test? Because you really can't come over unless you. So the whole thing has just shifted.
I was turning around there because I got one of those temperature gauges.
Okay.
Those little things, those digital, and I don't know where it must be at the front door. Okay. But
Listen here. Okay. I got my little temperature thing.
I got one of those gun things.
Oh, okay. Shoot at people.
You come to my door, you take too long to drop some mail. I need to know.
Right. And that's, that just wasn't our normal, and while I do think that just the situation that us having to just do things differently, I think there were some things that came out of this that were positive. Most of it not.
Mm-hmm.
Most of it not. I've been affected. I see you, Wanda. Show me your results. I know people personally. I lost two dear friends to COVID, and I know people personally that lost family members quickly. Quickly. They went in the hospital Wednesday, died on Saturday, like quickly. So even that kind of, every time you're getting a phone call or a text message is like, so that even having to hold that kind of space, so yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy.
And for me, we're talking about it because that really sets the backdrop, okay, for what our everyday is like.
Right. Absolutely.
And, so nothing is going to be the same ever again.
Nope.
We knew nobody was coming to save us, but this just let us know for sure. I mean, most people are getting it. I will just take this time to say that it is incumbent upon us that we begin to move forward and create our own systems, our own relationships,
absolutely,
our own communities, our
own support system. Yeah, absolutely.
Support systems.
Absolutely.
We need to build our support systems.
Yep.
And really prepare ourselves. And I'm not talking about, toilet paper and paper towels. I mean that too.
Right, exactly. But mentally, physically, and spiritually, especially spiritually, we have to, because it's unfortunate, but some people don't have, like I sit here today extremely grateful because I have a support system. I have a bomb support system. That everybody is a phone call or text away, friends and family. One of them's on here right now talking about show me your results. So, but there's people that don't have that.
No.
So, what's their support system going to look like? What are they going to be able to kind of either find or go back to a belief system or a faith system that they had, because that might be all that they have.
Right.
So it's not just about, like you said, it's not just about, the paper towel and, anything like that. It's deeper than that. It's definitely deeper than that.
And in our preparation for our discussion, I remember us talking about the need to be able to rely on yourself, And before we go further, I want to officially introduce our guest. Well, first, this is what I love to do. I love to tell the story. I love to tell the story about how we met, because it's just it's providence. Okay.
Yeah.
It's providence.
Yes.
And it was meant to be. And so my very good friend, Valerie Mandisa Karasi Stansel, has her show. Well, I forget, it was a book show or she's always on. Okay. This I need to hire a personal assistant for me to keep up with my friend.
Right. Right. I feel the same way. They're doing so much, and I can't click like enough or make a comment. It gets too overwhelming to me.
It's just, so she introduced us. She said to me, Tanya, just come on, join this this podcast. And I heard you talking, and it wasn't so much the words that you said. All right. It was the spirit and the energy that I received while you were speaking. And something in your bio that spoke volumes to me, Wanda, is that you said there were 4 simple words. And I liked it. I period. Am period. Still period. Here. All right. And I received the periods at the end of those words as full sentences, because that is actually, it's you get this far, boom, let me work with I.
Yep. Yep.
Am, period. Okay, I am. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Still, wow, really?
And still, let me tell you something. Still, that's a paragraph, actually.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? There's so much behind still. Because it did not have to be this way at all. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And that your journey to yourself, okay, is really what sustained you. And I experienced that from what you were sharing on that program. And after that program, we talked for a long time.
Yep.
And we just connected.
Yep.
We just connected. So I knew that yours is a message that needed to be shared. That was, your story was critical enough that it was one that changed lives. Okay. And it is time for us to do that. So let me just tell you so that's been my experience. It's just been very full for me. It's just been very full. And I look forward to the possibilities.
Absolutely.
Of what's coming next. We've talked a lot about that too.
Yep.
We just feel the energy. We have no specifics, but we know, God is in control. It's coming.
Yeah, it's definitely coming.
And, more lives will be changed and saved, and, so much more will come of that. Because you walk the I, and still the ongoing thing. It's something that can be shared. So I am really honored to have Minister Wanda Edwards with us. She is a survivor, a motivational speaker, a certified domestic violence advocate. And Minister Wanda is going to share her story and the evolution, okay, that story took her through on her journey to what she calls me trying to find my way back to me. And the correlation for us is that, finding your way back is about looking at the possibilities and looking inside of yourself.
And that's not always easy.
That is absolutely.
I avoided that for a very long time.
Yes, not easy. So I also want to, they need to know how really fantastic you are. And there was something that was shared about you. Your former pastor, Walter Parrish, referred to you as the repairer of the breach. And maybe people don't know what the breach is, but that's when technically there's a break. Okay. Right. And it is typically something that is forced or violent. Okay.
Yep.
Breach of contract, breach of the, breach of the dam. Okay.
Right. The covenant, the relationship,
breach of everything. It's the
breach of self is what, because ultimately that's what it ended up meaning in my life.
Yes.
Because the people that I did, the women, and men that I did, they breached themselves. Right. So as I did, I breached myself. And so that's kind of the foundation of why he referred to me as the repairer.
And I could see that. Based on the work that you've done. Wanda is the producer of a film called Colors of Survival. The film reflects the journey of the very harsh realities of domestic violence, but is focused, I love this, on the hope of surviving. The hope of surviving. Wanda also has written and produced a stage play, Not Just October, and that focuses on the need for the continued discussion, okay, around the harsh and sometimes fatal effects of domestic violence.
Right.
Wanda began a volunteer ministry for women in crisis transition and has become a licensed minister. So let me just officially welcome you to Talks with Tanya, because
Thank
we've
you.
been talking.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so
Yes,
honored to be here.
yes.
So honored to be here.
So go ahead and share with us, a little bit about your story, and as a result of your journey, because for me, it's always about what action can we take in
Right.
order to move
Hmm.
forward, finding ourselves, and,
Right.
and doing that, so we can make that required shift,
Right.
to get to that healing that we
Right.
absolutely need.
Right. Um, so I'm a survivor of domestic violence. My husband was, my ex-husband was physically, mentally, emotionally abusive, for years. And, you know, it was something that it was one of those things where I didn't know what to expect, and
Mm,
so everything that I learned about both him and myself, was always in hindsight. It's all hindsight, because in the moment I didn't have a clue what was going on, other than I didn't think this was right, but I didn't know how to get out of it. And so I don't give a whole lot of energy to when people say, why don't they leave, and why do they stay? I don't give that any energy, because if you haven't experienced any type of trauma that causes you to not be able to think or to feel stuck, then move around with that, because I don't even entertain it.
mhm,
Um, because I can honestly say that I stayed initially because I didn't know what else to do.
mhm,
And I had just gotten married, and I didn't want the relationship to end. I just wanted him to stop doing that. So, I'm going to try. This is like, let's sit down and talk about this. Like, what's wrong with you? But that didn't work. And so eventually, I did have to leave. I used to refer to myself as kind of like a Lifetime movie back then, because
mhm.
we were on the run, my daughters and I,
Oh, wow.
and he would keep finding us, until eventually I did go into a shelter, and I stayed in the shelter with my daughters. We were there for about 3 months, um, and then slowly, this was in South Jersey, because
Mhm,
we were all from North Jersey, but I ran down to South Jersey. And then eventually we kind of, we migrated back up here when things kind of settled. We did end up getting a divorce, um, and he did the abuse and the manipulation and all of that stopped. However, it stopped because he was a drug addict, and what happened was the drugs took over. So it wasn't even
mhm.
about him, coming to this revelation about what he was doing was wrong and apologizing. It had nothing to do with that. The drugs just took over,
Mm.
and he was not able to function. He did pass away. God, I guess it's been about 16 or 17 years ago now, maybe even 20. Yeah. So he did pass away. Um, but and after going through that experience, of being punched, of being choked, of being almost set on fire, and I say these things now nonchalantly. It may sound that way. It's not. Um, but that was a process of even getting to the point of even being able to verbalize that
Yes,
even happened to me.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
the reason why I'm able to say it the way I say it now is because I've done the work. I've slid down the wall with tears. I after I came out of that, I went right into substance abuse because I couldn't deal with it.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't go back and look. I couldn't, I was trying to stay. I was like this, like just tight and wound, trying to protect my daughters, trying to protect myself. And once the threat was gone, I didn't know what to do, because I had been in survival mode for years. So I had no idea what to do. I didn't know how to be a mother. I didn't know what to do. So I turned to drugs. And it was a coping, it was definitely a coping mechanism. And so it was a long time before I was able to sit back and take a look at my life and how I got there. Right? How did I get there? And it wasn't about blaming myself. It wasn't about anything like that, because I did that already too. I beat myself up real bad, which is why the drugs just kept going and going and going, because I never felt worthy. I never felt seen. It's just a mess up here. It's just a mess up here. So I did go to therapy. And I went to therapy. I had quite a few therapists, because once they got to a certain point and asked me a certain question, okay, well, I'm not coming back to you anymore, because we're not going there.
Yes, we're running and hiding, huh?
We're not going there. So, and I don't know what it was about this particular therapist. I really don't. I don't remember what it was about her. I don't know if it was her or whether or not I was just tired of lying or tired of hiding. I don't really know which one it was. I just know that it was during that time that I started to realize that I needed to walk in my truth, and how much of a lie I was living. Just all across the board. All across the board. And I had to get some freedom somewhere. And so for me, it wasn't an easy journey. Like it just wasn't, because first of all, I didn't want to get clean. I didn't want to. Because I knew that if I did that, now I'm going to have to be responsible. Now I'm going to have to, show up, and and I don't want to do that. This getting high every day works for me. This is working for me. But as a result of that, my life was spinning out of control, and it was affecting my children. It was affecting my family. It was affecting my friends. And I said, okay, all right. I'm gonna try. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but I'm gonna try. And that started out with about 3 rehabs. My initial decision, I didn't actually get clean until about 7 years after my initial decision, because I kept relapsing. I couldn't. I just kept relapsing. And so once I started to just get into recovery, like for real, the first thing I had to do was I really had to get the drugs like out of my system, right? And so part of the reason of I am still here, my husband tried to break me in every way possible. I mean, that's a whole nother story. To get into detail is not necessary, but he tried to break me. The drugs, I'll put it this way. If the drugs themselves didn't kill me, the lifestyle would have. So I'm still here. To this day, there's still little stories that come out about certain things that happened while I was using, and things, and people are like, what? Yeah, because I didn't look like a drug addict.
Hello.
So that was the other thing, right? Nobody, in my mind, nobody knew. Nobody knew. Everybody knew. But I didn't think they did. So my journey to embracing my truth, and that was the critical point for me, right? Because I think that everybody comes to a certain point in their life where they feel they have to make a shift, and whatever that shift is, For me, it was identifying my truth.
Yeah.
I had to embrace what had happened to me. I had to embrace, and I'm not going to use the word embrace because I didn't embrace it right away. What I did was acknowledge it. I acknowledged that the 9-year-old little girl that got molested by blood uncles, sexually molested by, I had to acknowledge her. Then I had to acknowledge the 16-year-old that had a extremely traumatic abortion. And then I had to acknowledge the 25, 23, 26, 27, 28-year-old who was literally getting beat up. And when I'm talking marks around my neck, black eyes, bloody noses, busted lips, getting beat up. All of that was stuffed way down. So it was a process of just kind of acknowledging. That's all I could do was acknowledge that this happened to me. Then I had to, go to that next level of, okay, what was my part?
Yes.
What was my part? And it's like, what do you mean? What was my part? I didn't want any of that to happen. What was my part? And, as a child, it was hard to kind of identify, what that was, other than the fact that I didn't tell anybody. Right? Because who you gonna tell? Listen, I come from a Jamaican household. Listen, be quiet, girl. We ain't talking. Nope. And there's nothing about feelings. We don't necessarily feel anything. We just do it. And that's what happened with the abortion. Like, my mother and my brother took me to get it. We didn't talk about it. We just did it.
Yes.
So it wasn't until years later, right? So I do talk more about the journey to hope, and the other side of this, because there is another side of it, that involves willingness, and a lot of times with domestic violence victims, and even substance abusers, it's not easy because we don't even feel that there is another side. We don't think that there is. People tell us that, you can get better. But we don't believe it. We have to go through the steps so that we can believe it. I can't believe something because you believe it. I can't. I got to experience it. And so, like we were talking about last night, like some of the action steps and what, and what I realize is that everybody comes to their truth differently, because they come to it for different reasons, and some people probably never actually will, for whatever reason.
Right.
But for me, there was actually 3 things that I had to do, and that I did do. But again, hindsight, right? Because in the moment, I'm not thinking this is what I'm doing. I'm just doing it.
Paper and going, okay, step number 2.
Exactly. So what I realized was, and again, this is years after the abuse. It's years after being clean and finally being able to hold my head up when I walked. So let me just start there.
Yes.
Finally being able to see myself in the mirror. Now, and I probably still get emotional when I talk about this, because this was a turning point for me, and I'll never forget it. Getting out of the shower, I was standing in the mirror and I was drying myself off and I was drying my face. And when I took the towel down from my face, I saw myself in the mirror. And I stopped and I just started to cry because I realized that I had never looked at myself.
Wow.
I went in the mirror, made sure my hair was combed, threw some makeup on. Let me tell you something. The makeup game was on because I was hiding. So when I tell you that I used to I had all kinds of eyeshadow. Listen, girl. So all I did in the mirror when it came to makeup was make sure that my face was hidden.
Yes.
Dark color, bright mascara, dark eyebrows, bright lipstick. Just look at the makeup. You don't got to worry about me. Just look at my face.
Mm-hmm.
But this particular day, I just remember, and I remember looking in the mirror going, well, you're cute. You're kind of cute. And that was just, it was just a moment
Mm.
of, and my head, I sat up a little bit straighter that day. Sat up just a little bit straighter that day. And then, so it was little things like that for me. But what ultimately, there were three things that I had to actually stop doing
Hmm.
in order for me to really just walk in my authentic self. And this is in no particular order because it was all kind of right happened simultaneously.
Yes.
But the biggest thing for me was I had to stop comparing myself to
Sure,
others.
please.
I compared myself to everyone.
Mm.
I compared myself to my friends. They never knew, but I compared myself to my friends. I compared myself to the friends that to me made it out. They made something of themselves. They made the
Mm.
right decision. They didn't, you know, and what must they think of me? You know, I had to stop doing that. That in and of itself was a process. Um, I compared myself to when I became a minister. Um, I was a preacher and I was a good preacher, but I compared myself to all the other preachers.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so I didn't feel like I was a good preacher. I didn't feel like I had, anything to offer or anything. I compared myself when I was going to meetings, and the other addicts would be sharing their stories. I would compare myself to their stories. And sometimes it was, and here's the thing with that though. That was comparing myself to try to continue to justify my bad behaviors.
There you go.
Right? Oh, well, my kids didn't get taken away from me. So
Yeah, I'm not that bad. No.
I'm not that bad. Oh no, my family still talks to me.
Mm-hmm,
Oh
mm-hmm.
no, my family didn't leave place outside the door for me. I could go to my family's house anytime I wanted. Oh no, my family still loves me. Oh, my kids still love me. So I would compare myself as a way to justify my bad behavior. So I had to stop doing that, and and that wasn't easy because I didn't even realize, I didn't realize that I was doing it, except that I never felt whole. I was never comfortable in my own skin because I was so worried about what they were doing or what they had on, or their relationship, and all of that kind of stuff. So I had to take a step back, and I have to tell you that it took practice. I had to
Mm-hmm.
practice doing
Yes,
it.
yes, yes.
Right? In the moment when it was happening, I would have to go, okay, but Wanda, but you don't do it that way. But this is how you do it. And this is why they want you to preach, because you do it this way. If everybody, but I had to have those types of conversations with myself, had to talk about it in therapy. So finally, even when it came to work, when I went to work and, had my heels on and my suit, because I was in corporate America, and let me tell you something, I was the bomb. But internally, I felt like a little girl that had her mother's clothes on. And I was
Mm.
walking around in the big old shoes in the office. And at any given moment, somebody was going to go, you don't belong here,
Yeah.
because you're
Mm.
a victim and you're a drug addict and you don't belong here. So there was many years of me just trying to get my balance. But in order for me to do that, I had to let go of the comparing. I
Mm-hmm.
just had to stop doing it. Um, and eventually I did. I did stop doing it. And that allowed me to focus on my strengths. Because
Yes.
guess what? What a concept. I actually had them. So I had to stop complaining. Comparing myself to others. And the other thing that I had to do was actually in three parts, and I'm sure you've probably heard this before. I had to feel what I was going through. I had to deal with it, and then I had to heal from it. So I had to feel, deal, and heal, and
Mm.
that was a moving, like there was a lot of moving parts to that, right?
Yes.
Because I had to heal that little girl. I had to let her know that, you know, you were 9, 10 years old, you were going through puberty, and your body was being touched in a way by people that it shouldn't have been touched, but it was still your body, and you were growing. So yes, you felt something, and initially it felt good, but it still was not something that should have happened to you.
Right.
But I had to go back and let her know it's okay.
It's okay.
Because she felt guilty. That was guilt, you know? And while it was something that was beyond my control, I always felt guilty because there were certain things that I got a rise out of, not understanding. Of course you would. So I had to go and get her together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then I had to come to the 16-year-old and I had to get her together.
Mm.
You know, yes, this is what happened to you. And I remember, you know, when I had my first child, because I never talked about it, never ever talked about it.
You don't.
But I had to come to the realization for me, for my truth, that I have 4 children.
Yes, I understand. Mm-hmm.
And one of them was taken from me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a choice.
Right.
I had no choice. I was never asked. I had no choice.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, you know, that was just an example of the feel, deal, and heal, right? I
Mm-hmm.
had to feel that. I had to go through a process of grieving a child that I don't even know. I've decided that it was a boy, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. So I had to go through this process of grieving a loss of a child.
Mm-hmm.
And this all came out when I started to have my children. Wait a minute, you did have it. You
Yeah.
have 4. You know, and then, you know, having to come to terms with, you know, the night that my husband did try to set me on fire. Because I didn't talk about that. I would talk about being choked. And I would not even talk about how it felt. I would just be telling you what happened.
Right.
You know, yeah, if you, and it's only if you asked me. If you asked me, I would tell you. It wasn't anything I was volunteering. But I never spoke about that. Um, and I had to, you know, so that was just another example of I had to feel things, and then I had to deal with them, and I had to heal from them. And the only way that I was able to heal from them was to be able to identify them as my truth.
Yes.
This is what happened to me, whether it was of my doing, the drug abuse, or not of my doing, the domestic violence and all of that. It's still something that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so feel, deal, and heal. That's what I had to do. And there was many instances like that, you know, over the years as things, you know, things came up. You know, having to really, you know, own the fact that when I was using, I was not a good mother. And I had daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't a good mother to them. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't a good mother to my son. I did the best that I could do, but I had to go back and say, you were not a good,
Yes.
right? But what I hid behind was the fact that my children loved me. They never left me. They never left me. They never stopped hugging me. They never stopped kissing me. They never stopped calling me ma and mommy. So I hung on that for a while until I couldn't hang on that anymore. I harmed them. I harmed them. You know, so I had to feel, deal, and heal. So I had to stop comparing myself to others and be able to walk in what I could do. And if I couldn't do it, I couldn't do it.
Yes.
But if I could do it, then I could do it.
You can, right?
Yeah, learn my limitations, you know, and then I had to, you know, go through a process of feeling, dealing, and healing, you know, with things as they came up.
Yeah.
And that was really, really difficult. And then the third thing that I had to start doing, and this was practicing as well, was I had to start actually telling the truth.
Hmm.
Because, you know, I lie by omission in a heartbeat. You know, and I'm not, and honestly, I'm not just talking about, you know, things that may have happened to me, or, you know, the domestic violence or this. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, little things that I would embellish because I either didn't do it, thought you thought that I did do it, or you wanted me to have done it, or you had an expectation that I did it. So I would just tell you that I did it.
Right.
And so I became very well, you know, I'm a very good speaker. And I can make you believe anything that I think I might want you to believe. But then I know, right? And it doesn't,
at the end of the day, who are you looking at in the mirror? But
it don't, yeah, it don't feel good. So I had to start telling the truth about, you know, everything. And I realized that, you know, a lot of times for me, I think there's like maybe 3 reasons, right, that somebody doesn't tell the truth. We either don't actually know what the truth is, or we don't want to be ashamed. We don't want to be exposed. We don't want people to think a certain way of us, so we'll twist it a little bit. Or we don't want to hurt somebody or make them be exposed or make, you know, so we don't tell the truth.
Right.
But ultimately, it all comes out. And I learned that lesson, in the lesson in that for me was people that wanted to help me or support me, if I wasn't being honest with them, then I wasn't getting the help and support that I actually needed. And so, you know, there was a lot of times when I would embellish or just flat out lie. And, you know, the person that wanted to help me would take certain steps that didn't actually help me at all because I didn't tell them what the real deal was. And that, you know, and that was a hard process too. To learn to just, you know, like I said, all of this stuff for me, I had to practice because it wasn't a normal way that I was, you know, like living and functioning. So,
I love that.
but there was freedom for me. There was freedom in walking in my truth. And that's, you know, from my story to telling you the truth about whether or not I want to go out. You know what I mean? I don't feel like it. And I don't, you know, I don't need to make up the excuses anymore. Oh, you know, I have a headache, or oh my God, I just fell down the stairs. No, it's not any of that. I just don't want to. And that's okay. I don't want to.
Yes.
You know, so it's just, you know, it's a process. But I just feel better because I just feel like I'm more in my authentic self now. And I don't have a problem talking about the 9-year-old, the 16-year-old, you know, the 23, 25, 26, 27-year-old, because guess what? It's just me.
Right.
It's not 3 different people. It's just me. You know, and that was the other thing. That was the breach part for me because I was fragmented.
Yes.
There was the 9-year-old, the 16-year-old, and then the woman that was getting beat, and then the drug addict. I can't deal with all of them people. Nope. So I was, you know, and it was the 9-year-old, right, who didn't have any I want to say healthy male figures, right? Because my father died when I was 9. So I didn't have a point of reference for a healthy relationship. I had no point of reference for it. So the first guy, I just wanted to be loved.
Yes.
And he showed me love. Right? His younger self, his mother was extremely verbally abusive to him and his brother. She was horrible. Guess what? He grew up not liking women. So we come together. It's a match made in hell. You know, but those were the type of things that I learned, you know, that no, I didn't wake up one day and decide that I wanted to be a victim. That was not on my vision board. So, you know, it was not a goal, you know, it wasn't on my bucket list.
I love that.
But something happened, you know, so it's all these kind of, you know, through therapy and through the willingness, Tanya, because, you know, I had to be willing to do this, and it was not easy. It was so uncomfortable, and sometimes to this day, there's conversations that will come up. Things will come to the surface with me and my daughters, or my son, but the difference is that we try to just address it now, as opposed to running away from it or whatever. So I had to stop comparing. I had to feel, deal, and heal. And then I had to actually start telling the truth when the opportunities presented itself. Because I would just make up stuff just to sound good, just to look good, and then go home and be like, why did you say that? Why did you say that? It's not true. And so now I'm all jacked up. The other person might be like, wow, that was really cool. But I'm like, that wasn't even true. So,
and Val was saying, keeping the false image that disguises our pain and hurt.
Oh, got really good at that. Got real good at that. That was my normal, and so for me, I had to just stop focusing on, on what happened.
Right.
The bad. I had to stop focusing on that and focus on the fact that I am still here.
I am still here. Shifting the narrative. And what I want to say about, first of all, thank you for your transparency, because I believe that it is in speaking the truth, calling it out, shining the light on it.
Absolutely.
Okay. That then we can begin to, those pieces begin to disintegrate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I would also like to say that the specific, the situations for you were the, the domestic violence and the drug addiction, and these steps, that you major steps, because there was so many in betweens.
Right, exactly.
But I would like the audience to know and understand that regardless of what the specific situation is, there might be some differences.
Yep.
Okay. The process, the steps is stop comparing. Okay. Stop comparing yourself. If you don't, you're an entrepreneur, and somebody else puts a post up and they got, 100 likes and you got, 99.
Social media is listen, you got to stop paying attention. Stop it, because that will really, really hurt you.
Yes.
That will really hurt you.
And I remember doing that. And I'll tell you what, recently, because I'm kind of evaluating the effectiveness of social media for some of the other projects that I work on. Naturally, Talks with Tanya. Well, we got to talk.
Right.
And in order to get the message out, it's like you need to talk on multiple platforms. I mean, that kind of stuff makes sense.
Right.
But for, some other things, it's, and not even comparing. I mean, I would, love to, get as many likes as the Bonnet Chronicles, whom what I love. And
right.
Tam, you can't tell me I'm not Tamarin,
right.
Just Barry, or, those kind of people. Those are the people I look to. It's like Tanya, okay, you're 10 followers.
Right. But you know what? Because I went through that as well. Not so much with the likes as much as like what they were doing, and how come I didn't think about that, and how come, well, I want to do that. Yeah. And first of all, it was like, but you really don't though. No. So, because you really don't want to do that. You're fine doing what you're doing. But the other thing is that I realized that we all have a sphere of influence. We all have it. So I may not be reaching 1 million people or 2 million people, but trust and believe the 30, 40, or 50 women that I meet, I impact them, and they impact me. So I had to, that was something else. I actually did a workshop on that, because I was the same thing. Why did I think of that? Well, you didn't think of that because you thought of the play. That's why you didn't think of that, because that wasn't for you.
Exactly.
This was for you.
That's how you touch people. That's how you touch people. It's like, okay, so pay attention to the process, my beloveds. Okay? Stop complaining. Feel whatever it is, whatever your situation. Deal. All right? Get the help that you need.
Absolutely. Therapy.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love to say that I am thoroughly therapized.
Yes. 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 Yes.
And it's someplace to to dump, for someone to reflect back to you what it is that's on your mind.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, I said that. Oh, okay. Oh,
Yep. And somebody that doesn't know you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that
And
doesn't know you.
then heal. And it all takes work. It's not the first time that it happens. Feel, deal, heal, repeat. Feel, deal.
Exactly. Because every situation that comes up, it's like, oh, okay, feel, deal, and heal. Good? You're good there? Okay. Because something else is going to come up. Feel it, deal with it, whatever that looks like, and then heal from it, whatever that looks like for you.
Put the steps in place. Is it breathing? Is it going outside? Is it blogging? Is it, whatever, meditating?
Exactly. Yep.
Whatever. And you
whatever it is,
take those steps consistently in order to get the results. And I'm so focused on this because it's the path that I'm on as well. So, although I'm always talking about, the possibilities, and you should build a strategy, and, your plan and your action, and be resilient, because you have the power to heal you. It's the truth.
It is.
But everything I said is what? They're all kind of sub-steps.
Right.
All right. And it's people say keep it simple, and you might say that and you come up with those things, but the everyday, and we talked about this, every day, oh my God, can I put my feet on the floor and move forward?
Yeah.
I cannot take my child asking me another question. They have no idea that I'm trying to figure out, how to pay the electric bill.
Right.
They have no idea.
Right.
Okay. They want these things, and I can't provide it, so I can't get up.
Right. Right.
All right. So there's so much to that.
Yep.
But at every point of that, the parable of the mustard seed, continues to come up. The same thing you talked about, that, your word is just for whoever it's for. You only do your part.
Right.
You do your part. We share the information.
Right.
And then we move forward to the next hurdle.
Exactly. Because there's like you always say, right? You're either going in a storm, coming out of the storm, and there's one on the way.
And there's one on the way.
There's one on the way. We just have to try to be as grounded as we can. And some days are better than others.
Yes.
I feel good today. Now I could wake up tomorrow and be like, I ain't dealing with none of this today. I'm not dealing with it. I know what I said last night. Okay. Here's my truth. I know what I said last night, but today I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And part of that journey for me was being able to call somebody and say, I ain't good.
Right.
I'm not good.
Yes.
And again, I'm blessed to have, I'm in a group chat with 5 of my friends, and that's what we do. We check on each other. And if somebody's really going through something, we will get a whole book in that text message. But guess what? We read every single word.
Yes.
So I know that there's some place that I can go.
Release.
To say, I'm not good. I'm not good right now. And that's part of being in my truth, right?
Yeah,
Talking about my depression. I never talked about that either. And I got tired because that was a whole, man, the energy to try to hold that in when that was hard. And I really had to say, you know what, y'all, I got depression, and I take medication, and I didn't get out to bed today, and I don't think I'm gonna get out to bed tomorrow. So I'm just letting y'all know because I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of showing up when I don't feel like I'm tired of doing that. So like I said, the whole, stop comparing, feel, deal, heal, and start to actually tell the truth. It was all, moving parts. It was all just happening all simultaneously as things came up.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so very much for sharing.
Thank you.
I thought it was important to, for people to understand that the process can be duplicated for different situations. We don't have to reinvent the wheel in order to, don't reinvent the wheel in order to heal. What?
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 What you say?
Girl. So let's talk about the book and the play. I love it.
All right. So listen. So since talking to you twice, right? And I was talking to another girlfriend of mine the other day. Bottom line is that, we were supposed to actually go on tour with the play this year. We were scheduled to, the venue was set. We were in rehearsals. We were going to be in the Black Rock Theater in Maryland on May 16th.
My birthday.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yep. That we were going to debut in Maryland. We had reached out to some survivors in Maryland, beautiful, beautiful women. Because the plan was, as we go to city, that we wanted to have survivors from that city to be in the play. So we had reached out, we had the cast, we were rehearsing, and then COVID came. Mm-hmm. So we weren't able to do it. And we were also supposed to be in New York in October of this year. Mm-hmm. So I have been seriously starting to contemplate doing it virtually. I know we talked about it last night and we talked about it before. But I actually took a step. Last night. I took a step. I reached out to someone had actually given me their name like months ago, on another show that I was on. And I never reached out to the person. But apparently they do like, virtual, like it's what they do. They do virtual stuff. So I sent the email last night to inquire. So I took a step.
There you go. That's it.
I haven't reached out to the ladies yet to let them know, but that's going to be the next step. Like, who's on board?
You see, Val's already won.
Yes, yeah, I know, Val. I know.
Wait, I'm ready to Bogart it too. Well,
listen, because you know what? Like, timing is really everything. Like it really, really is. And it's like we were talking last night. I know that I'm supposed to be doing something now. Mm-hmm. I know I can feel it. I just have to start to take the steps. And if I'm going in the wrong direction, I know that God is going to go, no, over here. But he's not going to do anything unless I take a step. So I did take a step last night. I did plan on reaching out to the ladies this week just to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. Who's down with me? Mm-hmm. And then we'll go from there, because it doesn't look like we're going to be able to be on a stage anytime soon. But the play itself was definitely divinely inspired, because I'm not a playwright. I had never written anything like that before in my life. It literally just dropped into my spirit. And I have to tell you, it's a good play. It's a good play. It is. That's my truth. It's a good play. And but not because of me or what I wrote, but because of the women that brought it to life. Yes. I could not have done that. They brought this play to life with their authentic self. Yes. And it was amazing. So Val, we will be doing the play. Absolutely. We will be.
Being able to share the truth, your experience, even if you don't have an answer for someone else.
Right, exactly.
You don't know how it is that your story, your walk, your silence
Right.
can impact someone else. And so the multiples of people. So look at the sphere of influence, because we talk about. So it's you and your story, and that kind of thing, and your support system. And now it's Val and her story and her support system, and then it's the other ladies in the. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
And that's exactly what happened, because there were some, women whose families never heard their story, never even knew. And as a result of them owning their truth, yeah, that's exactly right. Each of their individual spheres of influence were impacted. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it didn't have to be a million people. Huh?
All you have to do is be on purpose, be in alignment.
That's all you got to do.
Okay. And the rest will come. And that is true. And in order to understand where you are and be in alignment and, walk in your truth and all of those things, you need to come center.
Yep.
With whatever the situation is and might be and so forth, in order for you to move forward, in order for you to heal. I am really excited. So how many women did you have in the play, and stories and so forth that were shared?
So there were 12 women.
Wow.
And so it initially started out as it was going to be a monologue, kind of like the vagina monologues.
Yes,
where
which
women,
I loved.
right, me too, which each woman was going to share. Like, that was kind of the initial foundation, because we wanted each woman to represent a month, because domestic violence is not just October. So that's why there were 12 of them. Because it's every day, it's every month, and we need to be talking about it, not just in October. So that was the premise behind the 12. But as we started to come together and kind of, come together for table reads and things like that, it morphed into the play. That's not how it started. It started out as it was literally going to be monologues. And so as we were talking through, the monologues, and the women were sending me their stories, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, there's something else to say. You doing a 2-3 minute monologue, that's not going to be enough time to get out what we need to get out. And so then we kind of narrowed it down to, the 4 things actually that are kind of prevalent, if you will. The warning signs, safety planning, why do they stay, and the children. And so those are the 4 scenes. And then we added a court scene, because that's the other thing where victims get stuck, is when they go to court and the court doesn't listen to them, and the court, acts as if they have to prove that he's an abuser, but they're the one sitting there with the black eye and the neck, and all the abuser does is say, but I didn't do it. So we incorporated a court scene to show that, but at the same time to encourage victims to not give up. Don't give up. We know that this is where you guys get stuck. It's where I got stuck. But you got to keep going through the process. So we do a scene with a court scene as well. So there were 12 women. There was 26 people in the cast altogether, because we started to get our supporting cast that came through. We had a dancer, and we also do part of the dance is we pay homage and remember fallen angels. So we have signs, and they're dancing to Denise Williams' Black Butterfly. It's my favorite part of the play. It's just my favorite part of the play. And we all have a sign that we acknowledge them. So we covered everything, but it didn't, like I said, it didn't start out that way. And the women and we did it together. I always tell them we wrote the play. I didn't write it by myself. Because this is your stories. And what made it really authentic though, Tanya, is that while parts of the play were scripted, the part where they would tell their story was not scripted. So whatever was happening in that moment on the stage was authentic, because they never knew, they didn't know what they said in rehearsal was not actually what came out on stage. So it was really, yeah. I can't hear you anymore.
I know. I clicked the wrong button. That's just beautiful with the authenticity that comes that, cannot be duplicated. It cannot be duplicated. It's your experience. It was their experience, and kind of the broad scope of who you included, and being able to tell their perception of the story is helping someone else. And we need to continue to do that. To me, this is the perfect example for me of nobody's coming to save us. Okay. It really is building community, building the network, sharing your story, collaborating. Okay. In every single phase, in every single level, regardless of what the issue is,
right?
That is the strategy for success.
Yeah,
that is the strategy for success, and that's why being able to sustain that and grow that and teach that information, so that we are really changing lives and making a difference. It's great. It is great. I look forward to everything that is going to be birthed from this, Minister Wanda. I did put here the domestic violence hotline.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah.
800-799-SAFE, 800-799-SAFE. There's just so much to be learned, about this particular issue, but then all of the issues that keep us from being our real, authentic selves, and doing the work. It is work.
It is work. And it's not easy. I mean, I'm here today, but, I didn't start that journey of really doing the work and being authentic and all of that until I was in my mid 40s. And let me just tell you, it wasn't that long ago. So, it was a long time before I was really able to put some work in, willing to put the work in. Before I was willing to do it. I stuff was there, but I wasn't willing. It hurt too much. It hurt too much. And what was the point? For what? But there came a time where
real. Those are real feelings, and people need to understand that each of us, although, I talk a lot about the steps and action and, that kind of stuff. It's not cookie cutter. You put skin in the game. But the reward, the reward is going to, be there. You can find your way back to you. And, we can say, I am still here. I love that. I love that. Thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me,
Wanda. To my Talks with Tanya friends and family, thank you so very much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much, Shatera. Val, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, sir. I can hear her saying that.
Yes, Valerie.
Yes, you have she said that you have a venue already.
I know.
So you know that. See that? We got you a venue.
I know, Val. I know.
It's going to happen.
We're gonna do it.
It's
No, we are. We're gonna do it.
going to happen. Yes. Oh, Jackie, thanks for joining us, and your friend Wanda. That is amazing. Thanks so very much for joining us. All right. Don't forget to come back on Talks with Tanya here on Sunday at 8 p.m. I drop my my podcast on Saturdays at 11 a.m. on Anchor FM. Talks with Tanya and Tanya Inspires. We're committed to educating, informing, impacting, and connecting by sharing information to build bridges and heal lives. Thanks so very much for joining. Don't forget to like and share, and go to YouTube, subscribe to my channel, and remember to click on the bell so you get a real good reminder when I am.
Yes.
Lord knows I need the reminders as well. Thank you so very much, everyone. Remember, stay inspired.
Night, everyone.